I just want to welcome David from the Northeast
people at the
historic film. He's going to go through a presentation with us of some local videos, some from Dover and some from the surrounding areas.
Well, hi, David.
And
howdy. Good to be
if
here.
any of you have anything to add to them, we both talked about how neither of us might know all that much about them or might need a little bit of help with them. So if you have anything to add, please do so.
Well, thank you. We certainly will.
Oh, who's that? We can't see him.
What? That's me after I've lost some weight.
You're looking good.
It's aspirational. I think it's not really.
It's so the photo is so tiny we can hardly see it.
Well, that's me.
Oh,
That's me. That's what I want to look like.
oh.
Plus, I'll be wearing a suit. I don't wear a suit, you know. So, David, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm the executive director of Northeast Historic Film, which is a film archives located in Bucksport.
Uh-huh.
I was one of the co-founders. We started in 1986 after stumbling onto an old logging documentary called From Stump to Ship that we put together and traveled around the state, seeing big crowds because it was logging and everybody had a connection to the industry, it seemed like. And surprisingly, everybody had film. Everybody had some film in their basement or upstairs at the church or here and there. And nobody had equipment. Nobody knew what to do with it. And so we started this nonprofit archives to collect it. And we've been doing that for decades now. And there's still a lot more out there. I know there's more at Dover, for one thing, Dover Foxcroft. We don't have that much.
Well, we have a little. What formats is this film in?
8, Super 8, 16, 35.
Wow.
Every video format that that you can think of. And there's been quite a few of them.
No, David, are you still collecting it?
Yes.
Ooh. This is
Yes, Chris works with the local historical society in Dover. So if you need a contact, you might want to get a hold of Chris for some. The historical society has some. Do they have some videos in their collection, Chris?
lying around.
Yeah.
And so, David, this is for you, I think, a worthwhile thing. We don't have much, but we'd love to visit with you. We'll get your contact information after this meeting, right?
Sure, that'd be fine. That's good.
Good, thank you. This is well worthwhile then. Hi, Dennis. Is that Dennis there?
It was, yes.
The state prosecutor disagrees.
John Strong was disappointed that he wasn't provided an opportunity.
Hi, Dennis.
How are you?
All of us are members of the Historical Society, David.
See who everybody
I'm just gonna watch the video.
You want me to turn this off?
No, I'm okay, I think.
I think Dennis, I might have to mute your mic. It's picking up a lot of.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
So should I start in?
Yes.
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
David. Let's go ahead and get started on the videos.
Okay, so now I've got to remember how to get from here.
Share your screen.
Yeah.
There we go.
So the first thing I want to show is just a little 4-minute sort of ad about Northeast Historic Film. Kind of describes what we do without me carrying on about it.
There's a bit of folk poetry that we today miss in the state of Maine because there are no passenger trains. But if you were to have traveled many years ago on the main central line between Bucksport and Vanceboro, you might have heard the conductor cry out, train for Chipman's, Boxport Center, North Boxport, Hinks Landing, South Arlington, Arlington Pierces, North Arlington, South Brewer, Brewer Junction, Bangor, Exchange Street, DZ.
Northeast Historic Film preserves and helps people use moving images from a century in northern New England.
Enfield, Danforth, Eaton, Forest, Toma, Lambert Lake, and Vansboro. Wood.
We are movies of a way of life that is vanishing. Vanishing except for a vital film and video record.
There's a fascination to it. Flies and black flies and mosquitoes. And green tar and lard smooshed on your face. Why, it was a hell of a place, but nevertheless, you couldn't help but like it. Thought I had to have a pair of caulk boots. I want to be a rubber driver. So I had a brand new pair of boots. Yeah, they're beautiful.
We tell stories about how we live and work.
Every day I'd haul that trap I got out beyond the point, and up she come. Up would come Addie Lou, that is. I could tell it was her because she was speckled, red and black. Since lobstering is a lonely business, I used to like to stick Addie Lou right up there in the bow of the skiff and talk with her. Of course, she couldn't carry on a conversation, really. But I could tell her moods by the color of her speckles. At the end of the day, when I passed by Addie's point of land, I'd give her a little nudge, and she'd drop overboard for the next day's haul.
Yeah.
Moving pictures that tell the stories of everyday life in northern New England. Once, our moving image heritage was scattered, unseen, in danger of disappearing forever. Now, Northeast Historic Film creates a future for these records of our real lives, with your help. For students, for educators, for you.
Okay, I did it eventually. The next thing I want to show is silent, so we can talk over it if there's anything. And it's the second oldest piece of film that we've found. The oldest was called Drawing the Lobster Pot, and it's from down in Casco Bay. But this one is called Trout Fishing at Rangeley Lakes, and it's from 1906. So I'm going to start it. Uh-oh. I did something wrong.
I think if you click out of that folder, you should be able to, I think the other folder was just behind that folder.
Behind,
If you click the X on the top right, you should be able to get to the other one.
well, no, it says leave meeting. I don't want to leave.
Oh no, yeah, you don't want to do that.
Share your screen again, David. There you go. Now, what do you do, John?
If you click that, yeah, if you click that X there, it should just close that.
Okay, there we go. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just right behind it.
Wow.
Now, this was really the birth of moving images, and the equipment wasn't very sophisticated and filmmaking wasn't very evolved. And people weren't used to watching moving images.
Combination car.
I kind of have the feeling that this film was made partially because in order to do this, you had to buy a train ticket to the end of the line. And so there may have been a tourism angle, both for the people up here and for the means of transportation.
Oh, maybe.
It is.
I guess.
Phyllis.
Hi.
David, he's still wearing a tie, isn't he?
Oh,
The
you are
fisherman.
fishing after all. I think a little formality is appropriate.
Yeah, people might be watching. This is beautiful.
It's nothing to be heard.
Phyllis, this is a video of trout fishing up in Rangeley.
There's no sound, I assume.
Yeah, it's a silent film from 1906. David, was that correct?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, your speakers are working, Phyllis. There's just no sound with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
David, I have all kinds of questions about this film. Like, where did you get it? How was it preserved? What do you have it on now? Is it available for others?
It is available. We got it, actually, this film came from the Library of Congress. Back in the early days, you had to register your film for copyright,
Uh-huh.
and film was new, so they hadn't really figured it out, and they didn't really accept film. So what they had to do was make a paper print, like on a adding machine roll of paper,
Mm-hmm.
and send that in to register it. And meanwhile, like all of the real film, all of the regular prints deteriorated, but these paper prints got forgotten about at the Library of Congress. And they eventually were brought out like in the 50s or 60s. Then we're like, oh, we have all of this really early material. So we made a search to find things related to Maine and northern New England, and got copies of them. So that's how we got that one.
That's beautiful.
And it is public domain. We have it on a DVD that we put out called Earliest Maine Films that has 5 or 6 early things like that. I think there's just a few other ones.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's see if I can do step 3.
Sharing your screen again. There you go.
I was just trying to double click and not triple click.
Yeah.
This next one is also silent. This was a home movie made by a Dr. A.K. Schuster, who was a dentist, and he acted out, or he shot probably, his niece, I think, in the picture, and she's a sport to come up to Maine to learn the ways of the woods, and her Maine guide will come along. And this was shot supposedly somewhere around, and you'll have to help me with the pronunciation, Abimi Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Ibimi?
Ibimi.
Okay, I was pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Now this was shot sometime in the early to mid 1930s. And it was pretty ambitious to try to do a story film. You know, just as an amateur. And he must have had lights in order to film in here.
That lake is up near Milo, is it?
I think so.
Just north of Milo.
Map. The fellow playing their guide was their guide, they said. That's one of the notes I got.
Abimi Lake is on Route 11 between Brownville and Millinocket.
Okay. So we would drive by it.
Yeah. Now tell her.
You got it, Phyllis. Been there, done that. Way to KI.
That's spruce gum. Remember chewing that?
Oh, yeah.
So awful.
What was he doing there?
Spruce gum. You just, it's a sap that dries on the outside of the spruce and you chew it like gum. We used to
Oh.
do that as kids all the time.
Okay. That's great.
Pushing. Pushing.
You went from fishing to logging.
Already? No, they're cutting pine.
What?
They're cutting pine.
Yeah.
Well, why are they cutting up in such small pieces?
Oh.
Well, why cut? I mean, they used
They
to,
use pulp back.
well, I know they did, but if they cut a pine tree, my father would have sawed that up. Well,
Probably spruce. You know, use
must be
Gray-
spruce.
Grand Northern didn't use pine for long.
No, that must be spruce.
Anyway, I had planned to move on from this one. Because the next one has sound.
Ooh.
And this one is the Alan Preble Robinson collection. And we discovered that years after we got it, the film from him, and we sent a VHS copy back to him way back, 1990 or so. a man who worked for him named C.A. Hamilton recorded a narration and put it onto that VHS tape. And we kind of hadn't noticed that for a couple of decades. And then we did, and I thought, this really enriches it. And so I'm going to show you a few minutes of this. We called it Working the Land when we sort of put it back together again.
This video is from the Allen Preble Robinson collection and taken from 16mm film made in the 1930s of woods operations in the Upper Kennebec Valley. Your narrator is C.A. Hamilton. Sit back and enjoy. Now we are at a woods camp. It gives you an idea of what they look like. They're going to get ready to go out early in the morning. Now in a minute here, where you will see a fella that's, he really knows where that fella's going. And take a look at the horses. They're all very good shape. Now, this is some 4-foot wood. We're going to show 4-foot wood and long logs. This is the way that they broke the roads with a tractor.
David, when is this footage from?
It's from
You can see the snow is quite deep.
the Allen Preble Robinson collection. It was up by Wyman Lake, Bingham. He lived in Bingham, but they went further north, I think.
Oh no, I mean, what year was it from?
Oh, I got 1930s. I
Okay.
can't date it any
I
closer
started
than
using a buck saw to saw it down a tree.
No chainsaws.
Timber, there's a tree, and that's where they limb with a double-bitted axe. Now, these roads anywhere from 4, 6, and 8 cards to a load. Most of the loads are 6 and 8 cards. They do not haul them to a mill or anything. They haul them to a river or stream where they're dumped in and floated down Kennebec.
Jeez. 2 horses.
Of course, after each storm, they had to re-break the road. That's showing how they load the woods, 2 men. Here's one team going back for a load, an empty team. And your second man is always 2 men to a team. And the reason for that is one, whoops, here we come. Now watch that guy slide down. It's 2 men to a team, and the extra man helps load. Sometimes kind of hard to get started. You'll notice the drag in back, little pile of logs. That's to keep the load from going too fast down the hill. It acts like a drag. Now that they're at the yard. Now this is seen on Wyman Lake, ice fishing.
Didn't have any of this.
Now we go back to the woods camp, or the main camp. And this is some of the trucks that they used in this operation. And it shows the various buildings, the bunkhouse, the cookhouse, the office, the supply house, sleeping quarters. And here's the loading on. I got quite a crew on that one. That won't take long to load that up.
No.
Comes a truck hauling a sled of wood. You'll notice that road is not bare. What it is, it's straw. They put straw on the road to slow up the sleds going down a hill. Now they're out on Wyman Lake dumping logs, or wood, I should say. This shows a Sunday scene at a camp. Sundays the men do not work, and their families, friends, and what have you would come in for a noon meal. You can see how cold it was. Most generally during the day, it was below zero. Of course, at night too, but I mean, that's why they're all bundled up in the Mackinaws. Like this fellow's cutting a hole in the ice and in the pond. You can see they're trying to fill a ice wagon. This ice wagon is used to make the road slippery, as well as some of the sluice ways.
I never saw them do that.
You'll notice in a minute, just here we are, tractor. That's what's pulling the rope back and forth. Sometimes they do it in the with a horse. That shows them now going out to icy road.
Where's the boy?
Here shows some of the wildlife up in the woods. Deer were quite plentiful. They hauled 2 or 3.
I skipped ahead to this because I just think it's amazing.
And notice in the middle of the photograph, the film looks like a log jam started. And note the gentleman in the white shirts on the left. In a few minutes, you'll see him go and break that log jam. Now, the way they break it, they find a key log that holds practically all of it back, and they release that, and then it comes down like thunder.
But it's small.
This is not at the falls, it's just above the falls. Moxie Falls is approximately 90 feet in height. This is just above it, going towards the falls.
Hmm.
And from here, it goes down to the Kennebec River, then floats down to the mill. You'll notice the fellow in the white shirt standing on the left. Evidently, he's looking it over, see which log or logs is the one that's going to be the key. Here he comes. Now he decided which one is the key to it. And there it goes. If it fell in there, you certainly wouldn't stand the chance, would you?
I don't know which one is it.
Holy cow.
Goes on, and one of the things that I like about that whole film, it's like an hour long altogether, is that they, in the summertime, they follow the horses down to where the horses go and show the, not just in the woods, but in the summer, they're like plowing fields and planting their own food and all of that. Okay, next up. Oh, this is just a little silent. This is 1943. And like everybody in it's in uniform, which isn't a big surprise, I guess. This was the Sanders family.
Hmm.
What's his rank? Ed?
Huh?
What's his rank?
Looks like captain, but
someplace up here.
Hmm.
Where's that? What, which one? That's a funny- how does that look?
Yeah, so we'll,
Yeah.
two hats, a cat.
Mm. Mm. What town is this? Do we know?
It's Greenville.
Yeah, Greenville.
Greenville?
I have a note that says someplace, I think these Canadian planes at the Greenville airport.
Hmm.
Doesn't look much like an airport, but
Thing.
Was that yours? Was that
I
your?
hope not. I'm gonna mute myself.
Oh, it might be because you and Phyllis are so close to each other. You can't stay apart.
Little girl would have been about my brother's son.
now we're gonna hop ahead to the early 50s. And this is Milo, the
Hmm.
Hamlin collection. Carl Hamlin
Oh my gosh.
gave us this. I don't know.
Came up. Hmm.
Man who took these films, Carl Hamlin, lived in Milo and worked for Dowland Lumber Company. And he and his cousin flew planes for the company.
What lake would that be?
Of course, there's some aerial prints.
Do you know what lake that is?
I do
Like
not.
Scooting.
Ed thinks it's Scudic Lake.
I'm prepared to believe it. I'm looking through my notes.
It's not Greenville.
You reach the sign, and you go, like,
Mm,
It looks like the big ocean.
somebody's going somewhere. My goodness. That's a big lot.
Those new lightweight one-man chainsaws.
It's more like 60s, isn't it? Keep them open.
This is a film that we got from the Bangor and Aroostook Railroad. It's about track maintenance, which I find kind of fascinating. It's a few minutes. I think it's out of the Milo, what do they call it? The Derby shops? Derby shop? Milo.
The only function of a railroad, its only excuse for being, is to move freight quickly and efficiently between two points. It is a complex organism with many people contributing special skills that make the final product. The maintenance of steel rails and roadbed is of prime importance to that end.
Oh, yeah.
This is the story of track maintenance on the Bangor. The men and the machines they use to keep the high iron smooth. Maintenance on the Bangor and Aroostook always starts in the winter months. Unlike other transportation systems, the railroad must move all its own snow and maintain its own right-of-way without tax money. If it were not for the damage done by frost and cold of winter, much of the expensive track maintenance could be eliminated. Many men and machines, like this spreader removing snow from a railroad yard, are employed in this task on main lines and in yards. Nearly $350,000 is spent each year on snow removal. Many summer machines do double duty in railroad snow removal tasks. A power shovel removes banks from a railroad yard. The Pettibone speed swing uses a bucket loader in snow. A Pettibone speed swing with a snowblower attachment throws snow over high banks left by the spreader crews. A bulldozer clears a loading area.
A lot of snow.
A crane removes an accumulation of snow from tracks at the railroad derby shops. Four-wheel drive trucks are also used for the road's big snow removal job.
Yes.
That's
A weeder with a power broom makes some fish switch. A weed burner melts an accumulation of ice from a switch at the rail yard at Searsport.
I think that would have damaged the rails.
A summertime track maintainer also mounts a switch cleaner for snow removal.
you go wrong fast and stuff. Eyes on it, right?
The Kershaw ballast regulator, equipped with plow and switch cleaner, does an efficient job of cleaning side track. The replacement of worn steel rail is a major maintenance job that lends itself to mechanization. The railroad replaces about 3 to 5 miles of rail a year at a cost of $45,000 a mile. Machinery has done much to eliminate the need for brute strength in rail replacement. Spikes are removed with the aid of a mechanical spike puller. A power wrench is used to remove the bolts from the rail joint bar, a machine that eliminates a lot of muscle and more than a few jammed fingers. A stubborn bolt is burned off with a torch, and the rail is removed, marked, and the joints matched for relaying and siding. The tie plates are removed for reuse when the old steel is relayed. The plates on the main line will be replaced with new and larger plates to minimize tie wear. The spike holes are plugged with creosoted hardwood plugs and tamped to provide a secure hold for the spikes. A mechanical adzing machine trims the hardwood plugs and planes a level bed on which the new tie plate is laid. An application of creosote oil to the freshly planed surface of the ties prevents moisture from damaging the freshly cut wood. A crew quickly sets the tie plates to the proper gauge, and the operator of a Pettibone speed swing skillfully places the 1,500-pound, 39-foot steel rail exactly in its resting place. A single rail like this costs $120. After new joint bars have been applied, the track is spiked solidly with a pneumatic hammer. Railroad track, like anything else that men build, eventually wears out and must be renewed. After frost and ice take their toll of track, it's necessary to start the cycle of rebuilding. Today's John Henry, that legendary man of railroad maintenance, gets assistance from mechanical muscles that make the legend tame. A mechanical tie saw makes the removal of old ties easy. The centers of the tie are removed with a pick, and a tie extruder pushes out the two ends. About 70,000 ties are renewed each year at a cost of $7.50 each. The tie bed scarifier prepares a bed for the new tie and places a new hardwood creosoted tie in position.
And it goes on.
That is so cool.
So here's the next one is from Maine Public Television. It was filmed on Christmas Day in 1970 in Dover Foxcroft. And I just wonder whether this was the start of something or something that no one remembers at this point. But I'll play it and you can tell me. There is sound, but it's silent for a while.
1970. Now, what is it? What is that?
Well, we figure it's something that this area should have to show the younger people what went on in past years, and how hard they had to work, and what they had to work with. And we're trying to save as much of this as we can before it's plowed under and burned and gone to the dump. So we're trying to, we've got one house that is typical of the early homes, about when this area was settled in 1800.
Would this be much like Sturbridge Village?
Yeah, very similar. The different fibs that would be typical of this area. Where Sturbridge seems to be a more like the Connecticut area, typical of northern New England.
What do your neighbors think when you drive a steamroller up here that you found, or move one of the oldest houses in the area up here? What is their feeling toward your project?
Well, I don't know if any of them have actually said, but they seem to be interested.
Now, this project is all being sponsored by you, but you need funds for this. And
Yes, we've done pretty well so far. I have two other people in with me. It's Gordon Mercer and Bernard Crabtree. And the three of us have done pretty well. We've moved most of the stuff ourselves and acquired it, but we could use some funds to restore some of this stuff now.
how big will this be, hopefully, when you get it done?
We've got about 2 acres, maybe a little more now that we're developing, and it's already not enough. And probably will cover closer to 5 acres when we're finished.
When would you hope to actually have it going?
Well, of course, it'll depend on money.
Shaft Weaver had the
But
bill.
we're hoping in 4 or 5 years to have it pretty well set up.
How much do you,
Crabtree, he was down there.
Pretty hard to say. But the more we have, the more we could do. But I imagine that even the start is going to be $40,000-$50,000.
Ed or Tom, do you know what that is?
No,
The old metal shop. That is where the,
I recognize the name that he said. Gordon Mercer was my neighbor on Pleasant Street, but I don't know what that was.
So I guess it didn't grow into the giant something or other.
is
I was
that
hoping
where
it
the
did.
the blacksmith shop?
no.
Was it?
Well, I think we've run out of time pretty much. I feel like I could answer some questions if anybody had any.
Well, David, thank you very much.
My pleasure. And one thing I would say is, keep your eyes open. Everybody's got film and nobody thinks that the film they have is interesting to anybody else, but a lot of it is, particularly after 50, 80, or 100 years goes by. It starts to be part of the big jigsaw puzzle of the history of Maine. And I would encourage you to like talk to your local historical society or give us a call just to figure out how to preserve it and how to be able to see it, how to keep it safe.
Phyllis, do you know how much film we've got?
I don't. I have no idea.
Well, David, you got us started looking at it.
Good. That's always the first step.
Yeah. So what if we have some cans, we don't know what to do with? So we got some cans we don't know what to do with. Do we send it down to you and have you take a look at it, or what? How does that work?
You could do that. I can, usually if you have a can of film, somebody will have written something on the outside which tells you what it is. And if they haven't, they probably wrote it on the leader inside, or maybe even put it as a title. There's a few things you can tell just by staring at the film. And I can even show you there's things called date codes on most film that will tell you the year that the film was manufactured. If
Okay.
you have a magnifying glass to look at it. You can tell things by smelling it too. If it smells like vinegar, it's starting to deteriorate. If it smells like mothballs, that's a good smell for a film, for an old film. It's just one of those things that we look at it, we sniff it, that's the way you start. Then you can use equipment to actually try to see it. But you try to get the first bit done that way. You can send it to us and we can analyze it, and in most cases, unless it's covered with mold or mildew or, crinkled up, it's probably going to be playable. But I'll just warn you that old film shrinks and gets brittle, and a projector is kind of a rough life for a film because it's got bright lights and sharp metal, and it starts and stops, and it's easy for it to come apart. You can try to show it, but if it starts making horrible sounds, I would say stop. That's the hint. We have a scanner. The new scanners now are like sprocketless drives, and it's registered by lasers and stuff like that, so it doesn't do the damage that traditional projectors can do if your film is really on the extreme edge of shrunken.
Good.
And sometimes we have funding and sometimes we can find funding. Other times we can give you a price for what it would cost to make a digital copy or DVDs. But for example, we had a grant we just finished a little while ago from the Betterment Fund to preserve film of the Western Mountains regions of Maine, and so anything that was Western Mountains, including Piscataquis County, like we had a funding source for. That unfortunately is done, but new ones come along, and so sometimes we can find it, or there's banks will underwrite things and etc. like that.
Good, thank you. Well, our next step is to take an inventory and see what we've got, and then probably get in touch with you and get some directions.
That sounds great.
Yeah, we'd love to do it. Thank you. This would Carlson should have been here.
Yes.
I talked to Carlson today and told him that I was going to record it because he said he wasn't going to be able to show up today.
Good. Yeah, he'll be very
I'll
interested in this.
I'll probably get this on YouTube tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow, cross my fingers, and put out the link, and you can share it with anyone else you think would be interested, because
Excellent.
there were some very interesting films. I mean, it's great to see some of that. And it would be awesome if the Historical Society and Northeast could work together and get some more films from our area preserved.
Yeah, and David, we at the Historical Society are really pleased and honored to know that the library is a wonderful funding source for us for a lot of these activities. So they'll be really good to help us fund these projects.
That's great. And one thing I'll point out, you can
I have a joke, John.
What's that?
I was kind of joking, John.
Okay.
everything that I showed you was shown because we had already digitized it, but we have a lot of things that we haven't digitized. that we probably have on videotape at the office, or at least on film. And you can look at our website, you know, like I went through a page and only found like 2 things that, you know, were available in a form that I could show them. So what I showed you was in some ways the tip of the iceberg of even just what we have. And if you start building a collection, you might be interested, you know, if there's something good. You can look at our website, oldfilm.org, and put in different kinds of search terms, put in Dover Foxcroft, put in, you know, the Beamy, put in whatever you want, see what might pop up. People's names or whatever.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We look forward to it. This has been really helpful. Thank you much.
Great.
David, pleasure to meet you.
Does anyone else have any questions before we end the program or? Okay. All right. Well, then, thank you, David, for coming and showing us these films. It's been a great time. And
Great. Thanks.
One more project for the Historical Society, right, Philip?
oh, yeah. Yeah.
We don't need
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night,
Phyllis is
everyone.
all set to do this.
Yeah, right.
Oh, brother.